Welcome back, everyone. We are up to lesson 3 of Unit 3. And this lesson is kind of a continuation of the previous lesson. We started talking about square roots and cube roots in the last lesson. Now we want to relate square roots and cube roots to exponents. And it turns out, as it says here in the lesson notes, that if you take the square root of a number, taking the square root of a number is exactly the same as taking that number and raising it to the power of 1/2. So, for example, here, the square root of 25, which we know is positive and negative 5, the square root of 25 is the same as taking 25 and raising it to the power of 1/2. All right, if I were to go into a calculator and type in 25 to the power of 1/2, I would get positive or negative 5. It also turns out that cube roots, taking the cube root of a number, is the same as taking that number and raising it to the power of 1/3. So the cube root of 8, which is an example we talked about in the previous lesson, we know the cube root of 8 is 2 because 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. Well, similarly, taking 8 to the power of 1/3 is the same thing. So square rooting is the same as raising to the power of 1/2, and cube rooting is the same as raising to the power of 1/3. It turns out it doesn't matter whatever root you use, this pattern will hold true. So if you want to find a fourth root for some reason, a fourth root would be the same as raising to the power of 1/4. A fifth root would be the same as raising to a power of 1/5, so on and so forth. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the examples, the first set of examples I have in this video. So use the exponent rules and your understanding of roots to find the exact value of the following. So number 1 is 25 to the power of 1/2, okay? Based on our lesson notes, raising a number to the power of a half is the same as taking the square root of that number. And we know that the square root of 25 is positive and negative 5, which would be the exact value of that. Okay. Number 2, all right, 15 to the power of 1/2. That would be the same as taking the square root of 15. Now, the square root of 15, we know, is not a perfect square. So I'm just going to leave it as positive and negative square root of 15. Okay. A third example, 8 to the power of 1/3. Okay. So raising a number to the power of 1/3 is the same as taking the cube root of that number. So cube root of 8 is going to be equal to 2, not positive and negative 2, just positive 2. But it's going to be equal to 2 because 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2, is equal to 8. So that would be the exact value. Okay? And then lastly in this section, 2 to the 1/3 power, that would be the same thing as taking the cube root of 2. And the cube root of 2 is not a perfect cube. It's going to be a decimal, so I'm just going to leave it as cube root of 2. But again, I don't need to do plus and minus. Okay, let's go to our next set of examples. Okay, in this set of examples, we are going to match each power on the left with its value on the right. So we're going to take these powers and we're going to match them with its value here. So let's start with 7 cubed. Okay. 7 cubed is, of course, 7 times 7 times 7. And if you can't do it in your head, that's fine. Use a calculator. So go to your calculator and do 7 times 7 times 7, or 7 cubed. and you should get 343. So this is going to match with this one down here. So that's kind of how I'm going to do it. Okay. Next one is 7 squared, which we should know is 49. That should have a match over here. Okay. 7 to the power of 1 is going to be equal to 7. Anything to the power of 1 is itself. So there it goes down here. 7 to the power of 0. 7 to the power of 0. Okay? We should know that anything, any number, or any variable raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So 7 to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So that's going to go down here. Now we get into some negative exponents. Now, I know we haven't spent too much time talking about negative exponents, but we should still know how negative exponents work. Negative exponents does not mean negative numbers, okay? 7 to the power of negative 1 really means 1 over 7 to the 1, okay? 7 to the power of negative 2 means 1 over 7 to the power of positive 2. Okay? Hopefully you're seeing the pattern here. 7 to the power of negative 3 means 1 over 7 to the power of positive 3. So we move it down and then switch it to its a positive exponent. So 1 over 7 to the first is going to be 1/7, and that should be a choice. That's going to be down here. Okay. 1 over 7 squared is going to be 1 over 49, and that's going to match all the way up here. Okay. 1 over 7 cubed is going to be 1 over, and we know that 7 cubed from up here is 343. So that's going to be 1 over 343. So that's going to match up here. Okay. 7 to the power of a half, okay? Which one is that going to match with? Well, raising to the power of a half means the same as taking the square root. So 7 to the power of half is going to be equal to the square root of 7, okay? 7 to the power of negative 1/2 is going to be equal to 1 over 7 to the positive 1/2. Same pattern that I used up here. So that will be 1 over the square root of 7. Is 1 over the square root of 7 an option? Yes, it is. That is up here. Okay? So now we have 2 more left. So 7 to the 1/3. Again, 1/3 power is the same as cube rooting. So 7 to the 1/3 is going to be equal to the cube root of 7, which is going to match up here. And then there's only one left, so we know that 7 to the negative 1/3 is going to be equal to 1 over the cube root of 7. Okay? So again, the purpose of this lesson is to understand the idea that raising to the power of a half is the same as square rooting, and raising to the power of a third is the same as cube rooting. That is it for this lesson.